How's it going, everybody? My name's Warner Fields with Fields of Profit. I'm a full-time high six-figure Amazon seller, and in today's video I'm going to be breaking down exactly how you can use prep centers for your Amazon FBA business. Basically what a prep center does is it's going to receive your inventory from suppliers and ship that stuff off to Amazon for you. There's a lot of nuance within that, so we're going to talk about how we can use those for our Amazon businesses to grow and be much better, healthier businesses in the long run. Before we do that, if you want to check out the link down below to learn even more about selling on Amazon, we have a link to our completely free Amazon seller Discord community. There's about 17,000 people in there now with a ton of great free information. Would love to see you in there, but let's go ahead and jump into the video. So first off, just in case you are completely brand new to the idea of a prep center, basically what a prep center is going to do is, let's say you're doing wholesale, online arbitrage, private label, any of those business models where you're ordering things online and then shipping that stuff into Amazon. You know, right now you're probably sitting at home, labeling the units yourself, covering the barcodes, shipping that off to Amazon, which is a lot of work, but it is a little bit more profitable than using a prep center. Basically what a prep center is going to do is do all that work for you. They're going to handle the labeling, the items, they're going to ship it off to Amazon on your behalf. They're going to receive the boxes and unbox everything. So there's a lot that goes into prepping. I'm sure you're well aware of what all goes into prepping. I assume based on you clicking on this video, you're ready to kind of consider looking into a prep center. So that's basically what a prep center does, is they're just going to receive anything you buy and send it on to Amazon on your behalf for a per unit fee. Generally that fee is going to be anywhere from $1 if you're sending in a whole bunch of stuff, all the way up to $2 if you're a beginner, depending on the prep center, depending on, you know, whatever you can negotiate. That's a kind of a big tip with using prep centers, is negotiate the rates as much as you can. A lot of times they'll have different quotes. So, you know, let's say this prep center says if you do more than 3,000 units a month, you get $1 per unit. This one says, you know, if you do 1,000 plus, you get $1.25. So kind of shop around when you're looking for a prep center, look at what works best for you. So that kind of brings me into my next point, just a nice natural segue into how you're going to be able to find a prep center. So when you're looking for a prep center, you want to think about a couple different things. For one, looking into a prep center that's sales tax free might be very advantageous to you online arbitrage sellers. You have to think about the fact that if you are buying an item, let's say, so for example, I lived in Arkansas as I was coming up on Amazon. The sales tax rate there is just shy of 10%. So for me to order a $10 item, I would pay basically $1 in sales tax. Whereas if I had just sent it to a prep center, I could get $1 per unit probably with my volume. So when I consider that, even on a $10 item, it would be net zero. I would not lose any money, and then I would be skipping the work of prepping the products myself. So you think about that in terms of the sales tax rate in your state. If you're already in a sales tax free state, it's maybe not quite as big of a bump for your business in terms of profitability, but that's something to think about if you're an online arbitrage seller. If you're doing wholesale or want to scale into wholesale, it's nice to have prep centers on the coasts or near some of your biggest distributors. That way, when you buy from your wholesalers, generally you have to pay shipping when you're doing wholesale. So when you buy from your wholesalers, your shipping is going to be way, way cheaper if you ship it, you know, just across the state, rather than, let's say, you know, if I had a wholesale supplier in California and I had to ship it all the way to Arkansas to get my stuff prepped there, that's going to be a lot more expensive in terms of shipping than if I just got a prep center in California. And with wholesale, these sales tax implications are not really there. So those are some of the things you're going to want to think about in terms of getting a prep center. Obviously, you're going to want to shop around for the best rates for you, negotiate with them. And honestly, when I'm shopping for a prep center, I like to find a prep center that will get on a Zoom call with me, just so I can put a face to, you know, where I'm about to be sending thousands of dollars worth of inventory. I'd like to at least know who I'm associating with, right? Because in a way, a prep center is almost your business partner, right? They're going to be handling a ton of your logistics problems. So make sure you hop on a call with them if possible. Sometimes they don't want to, and in that case, I would personally move on from those, but that's up to your own better judgment. I like to at least try to talk to someone at the prep center before I start sending them thousands of dollars worth of stuff. So I would recommend trying to do that, see what they, you know, come with some specific questions for them. So when I was shopping around for a prep center, I was talking about, like, so how much is your poly bags? And if I do X units per month, can I get this discount on prep? Or, you know, can I waive the fee on this certain product prep if I do this kind of volume? Just kind of get into specifics with them on those calls. Maybe if you're someone who sells a lot of shoes, a lot of prep centers will actually have special rates for shoes because they are kind of an extra task to really package. A lot of prep centers really don't like doing shoes. So if you're somebody who does shoes, go ahead and contact them, talk about that. Come with specific questions when you do get them on a Zoom call that are going to help you feel a lot more confident in your prep center decision. So now you're familiar with what a prep center is, you know what to look for when you are looking for a prep center, but let's talk about when it is actually time to go ahead and get a prep center. So I've been sitting on a lot of YouTube lives lately. Hopefully you've been in the chat. Those have been a lot of fun, but there's been a lot of people asking, especially like brand new beginners, asking about how do I get a prep center? Where can I find a prep center? When really, if you're a true beginner, you probably aren't ready for a prep center yet, but maybe you are. So let me go through a couple of the criteria where I would say you're probably ready to get a prep center. So right off the bat, if you're someone who is just trying to optimize their dollar, trying to scale, they have a bunch of time to sink into this business, I would say don't get a prep center until the 1 to 2,000 units a month mark. Once you get there, it's probably going to make more sense for you to devote that time to sourcing. We'll talk about that here in a second. But if you're someone who has a full-time job, wants to treat Amazon, make a little less profit, sacrifice profit to pull yourself out of the business a little bit. If you just want to treat it like a side hustle, do as little work as possible, that decision-making process is going to look a little bit different to you. But the main decision you should be making when you are looking into a prep center, especially if you're trying to optimize the dollars that go into your business, is you should be considering the time when you are prepping products. If you're sitting there prepping products and for a fact you've got 10 grand, 15 grand sitting in the bank that's unspent on inventory, but you're having to devote that time to prepping products, that means it's absolutely time to get a prep center so that you can devote more time to getting through your money, spending that capital. Because at the end of the day, Amazon is all about getting through that capital that's available to you. So if prepping products is preventing you from getting through your capital, it's definitely time to go ahead and get a prep center. That's kind of the easy litmus test, I would say, for when you are ready for a prep center. So now you've done all your research, you know when you need to get a prep center, you know what to look for in your prep center. Let's talk about how the actual processes work when you do have a prep center, because it's going to vary from prep center to prep center, but I'll go ahead and share my experience for the prep center that I currently work with. By the way, if you are looking for a prep center, I work with a prep center down in Florida called iLogistics. They've been very good for me. I've been working with them for quite a bit now. The link is down below for them if you want to go ahead and check that out. That helps support the channel if you do go ahead and check out iLogistics and all that kind of stuff. So when we are working with these prep centers, it's going to vary from prep center to prep center, but for the most part, they're going to give you an Excel sheet. So this prep sheet right here is probably going to be very similar to one that you would get from your prep center. So when you do get an item, obviously this is just a sample that I made for the video. So when you do get an item, you're going to go ahead and fill out all this information. This is specifically what iLogistics asks for. Some other prep centers might ask for a little less or a little more information, but basically when I buy an item, so let me find a sample item here and we'll just pretend like we're listing a product. So let's say we wanted to list this product right here. We found this product profitably from another website and we wanted to go ahead and send this into our prep center for them to prep, send off to Amazon for us. So specifically for my prep center, again, this is going to vary from prep to prep. I would go ahead and throw in the item title here. You're going to say how many units you actually got. So let's say I ordered 10 units of this. It was just a nice little test buy here. So 10 units. And then on the received here, a lot of prep centers are probably going to do something similar. When they actually receive your inventory, check your inventory in, they're going to say, hey, we only got 9. And then from there, you can go ahead and, audit what's actually been shipped to you, see if you got shorted, see if they sent the wrong thing at all. Again, it's going to be very important to have a prep center that does communicate well with you. That's something I've really liked about working with my current prep center is anytime something's messed up, they're very willing to work with me, try to get it fixed, because a lot of this stuff, there's going to be mistakes that are made, by the companies that are sending you inventory. Like they're going to send you the wrong size of something. Something that's been happening is they're sending items with the security tags on it. So make sure you have a prep center who's willing to, get into the weeds, notice mistakes like that and really help you out. But really, we're just going to be grabbing some basic information. We've got the ASIN, that's easy to get. The UPC is a little bit trickier to get, and most prep centers are going to require you to put your UPCs on the spreadsheets here. I use a tool that just converts ASINs to UPCs. I'm not in love with the tool. I'm not going to specifically plug anything, but if you look up ASIN to UPC, that's what I've been doing, just because a lot of source websites do not list the UPC on the website. So I would grab this ASIN, plug it into my ASIN to UPC converter, throw that on there. And then for cost per unit, let's just say for the sake of the video, we're buying this for $11. That means they're going to go ahead and store this cost per unit in your Inventory Lab account. Most prep centers will require you to use Inventory Lab or a similar listing software. Plus, if you're at the point in your business where you're ready to use prep centers and all that kind of stuff, you should be pretty easily able to afford Inventory Lab subscriptions. It's only like $50 a month. So finishing out here, walking through the rest of this, for the list price, typically you're going to be able to tell your prep centers what you want them to list the item for. So, we could look at the Keepa chart down here, see what it's been selling for. So in this case, I would probably just tell them to list it at like, probably $40. And then when it actually comes into stock, obviously I'm going to be editing all these prices and stuff in my repricer. So I don't have to worry about any of that. Down here for the bundle, if there's, ever a thing where you're buying a 2-pack or a 3-pack or something like that, you could just go ahead and note, you just say, yep, it's a 2-pack. That's it. In this case, it's not a bundle. So I'm just going to leave that blank. In this case, this is my warehouse notes where if there's anything that goes wrong with my shipments, they'll go ahead and tell me in here. So anytime that security tags get left on, stuff like that I've been talking about, they'll put that in here. This is if I have any notes for them to be on the lookout for something. Sometimes I'll buy things in cases. So I'll say, just be aware that this comes in cases. Please break the cases open and sticker the ASINs that way. But I don't use that very often. For supplier, SKU, and month, I like to use these to create my Inventory Lab SKUs. So let's just say we bought this from Academy. We can give it custom SKUs. So what I've done on my own spreadsheet with iLogistics is I made a custom little SKU here that just adds my supplier, my buy cost, and my month together. So that I have a rough idea of where I bought the item from, what I paid for it, and when I bought it. That's going to be some useful information for when you are, going back, monitoring your pricing, going back, auditing your supplier supplier profitability, all that kind of stuff. Be sure you're embedding enough information in these SKUs, and then after that, they're going to handle the rest. So once you've thrown all these items on here, I try to do it at the end of the day after I've run all my purchases. I'll add everything to my prep sheet. So, you know, let's say we bought 10 units of this, I'm going to add that to my prep sheet. That way I don't forget it, because if it arrives at the prep center, it's not on your sheet, there's going to be a little bit of confusion there. So I try to avoid that confusion and just put everything on this spreadsheet. But that's basically the whole process. So after you go ahead and add all your inventory in there, every now and then you're going to go ahead and create an order. It's going to depend on the prep center. Sometimes prep centers will say, all right, every Monday we'll send out all your inventory. But for most prep centers, you're going to say, hey, I have 1,000 units there right now. Can you go ahead and send that in? Then they'll have that out within 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes it'll take 72 hours, just depending on how backed up the prep center is. But try to find one that does your orders in around 48 hours. That tends to be fairly standard, fairly reasonable time frame to get your order prep done. But once you do that, you're going to get an invoice usually for whatever your negotiated rate is. Take care of that as soon as possible. Be a good client, and they will be very communicative with you. You know, treat them well, they'll treat you well. Simple stuff here. But I hope you guys found a ton of value in this video. If you did, please feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate that. That adds value to my business. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, feel free to drop those down below as well. I'm always happy to answer those. But I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.